In the first 3 months of this year, we've had 259 farm bankruptcies, and that's more than every year total since 2021. More in 3 months than we've had in any full year since 2021. There's one thing. Number two, when the tariffs towards the beginning decided to affect farmers, and in the middle of planting season, fertilizer went up like to an ungodly amount, that was two. And then delaying a farm bill, that's three. And every time I look into who benefits from all of this, and when I was looking into what HR 1 was going to do to farmland, and so on and so forth, can somebody explain to me why all roads lead to Bill Gates? And then, why do all roads lead to him being invested in everything that would benefit what J.D. Vance is doing? Could someone explain that to me? Yeah. On top of this, Bill Gates is one of the people who's been benefiting from the Inflation Reduction Act as far as greenwashing goes. You know what the greenwashing did? We lost a ton of farmland. That's what happened. Everything the government has done since 2017 has destroyed farmland, and we've sold it off on the cheap. And China bought a bunch of it. Isn't that fun? So, hey, America, if you decide to give a damn about your farmers and you start calling about your farmers, it might slow the immigration train. We might stop having people who feed us go bankrupt. Those are two good things. Yeah, two good things. I don't know what all this bullshit's about, but when I saw how many farm bankruptcies there have been, and right now is harvesting season for a lot of things, it has been. So like, you tell me why they're ramping that up. What reason would there be right now during harvest season, especially since POTUS said in a cabinet meeting they were going to make sure they had everybody they needed in farms, and these people had green cards. So yeah, you guys told me, because I know that some of us care about the people that got arrested, but some of us care about the farmers. Some of us care about both. That's where I would like most people to be. But like, hey, there's white conservative people going bankrupt over all this, and they need the immigrants. So if you are one of them people that thinks this is a good idea to be getting rid of immigrants, 259 farmers have gone bankrupt. 259 farms have gone bankrupt. And that is more than every year individually, as a whole, since 2021, just in 3 months. Some people are buying that land, but it ain't Americans.
This is the consequences when we chose the wrong direction. Oh my God. Yes. It is what it is. Make America great. Yeah, low prices.
But these are hardworking people that are building this country.
Every single day. The general contracting crew, it's like 4 white dudes or 1 Mexican dude, and the Mexican dude's 4 times faster. I don't know how the fuck he does it.
I just got a construction job, and bro, these Hispanic people know how to freaking work, bro.
The Hispanics, they're the best at doing this. The field workers, construction, it don't matter. And still they come out here working every day with a smile on their face. They work faster than you, better than you, all that.
I don't care what anybody says. Mexican people are the hardest working people in the world, and that's a fact.
A lot of people tend to give them, man, they work harder than some borrowed mules. I'm starting to sweat just watching them.
Let's take a minute to appreciate the guys breaking their backs to make it great again and leave the politics out of it. And they're really the ones making America great.
I never really appreciated the Hispanic community as much, but the respect for that has grown crazy on my end.
Work ethic, their sense of family, their sense of collaboration, their sense of duty and honor. They come over here and they make tremendous contributions to our society.
Well, thanks to the big orange grim, farms in Texas just shut down overnight. Why? Because ICE raids made nearly 100% of the workforce completely vanish. People ran, got detained, or flat out got scared to death and never came back. Dairy farms are in panic mode right now. Cows got to be milked every 8 hours. And guess what? Nobody's showing up. This isn't some Texas problem either. This is happening across the entire nation. ICE isn't just out here enforcing they are actively crippling our food systems with fear and chaos. You want to talk about consequences? This ain't just about politics anymore, y'all. It's about what's on your table, what's in your fridge, or what's about to be missing from your store. These Nimrods aren't saving America. They're starving it.
How you going to run a country when you flip-flop harder than a fish on a dock? Last week, Trump said he was going to exempt hospitality and farm workers from ICE raids. You know, the people who literally keep the country fed and who keep our hotels running. He already reversed his decision, y'all. As of Monday, ICE agents were told to ignore that guidance and go back to doing those raids on those locations. So again, he is backtracking like he always does. Says one thing to sound reasonable, then pulls it back when he hears the loudest person yelling in his base. And I'm sitting here wondering, like, how are businesses supposed to function like this? How do you run a restaurant, a hotel, or a farm when week to week you don't know if you're going to have workers? That's next to impossible. The funniest part is the people who voted for this, they thought really this would make America great again. I'm trying to figure out what's great about chaos. What's great about fear and instability? What's so great about punishing the workers that are doing the jobs that most Americans don't want to do anyway? Trump ain't delivering greatness. He's delivering confusion. And at this point, he's not making it great. He's just making it harder to function.
I'm trying to figure out why MAGA, Republicans, Trump supporters, why you guys hate immigrants so damn much. Because this is pure hate. I don't care what anybody tells you. This is hateful. For you to be okay with this current administration just throwing people in concentration camps, laughing about it, and then making merch off of it, crazy. Crazy. So I keep thinking about it more and more, and I've come to the conclusion that you guys hate immigrants so damn much is because the immigrant does it better than you. And you can't handle it. The immigrant has a better work ethic than you, better family values and morals, sense of community. Shit, they even cook better than you. Okay? They dance better than you. They dress better than you. They're probably more artistic than you. They can definitely speak more than one language. I can assure you of that. That's probably why you hate them. You're threatened by the immigrant. You're threatened that they're going to take your spot. And honestly, that is not their MO. They are looking for freedom at the end of the day, to be able to live a normal life with their family, provide for their family, go to work, come home, have a nice meal, enjoy time with their family, go to church on Sundays, lay their head on their pillow at night knowing that they've done everything that they possibly could that day to be okay with themselves. And that bothers the
You really have to be a bad person to be ICE agent.
Woo! You guys want to take a break or no? Do you want to take a break? I mean, I don't want to slow the progress down, but I'm not going to complain. It's getting hot. My blood pressure's getting low. You get out there in that watermelon field, when you start chunking the melons, you're out in the middle of here. Think you're in the middle of the Sierra Desert. Yeah. It is no joke. Hard work. Hard labor. Long, hot. We were out there what? Felt like 2 hours. How long was it?
About 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Felt like at least 2 hours. How'd you think I did? I think I held my own pretty good. Oh yeah. So once I got in the groove of things, I was just, bam, you get in the zone and I started doing the twist method. Did you see that? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's all you try some walking watermelon field. No, I think I'm about to have a heat stroke.
¿Te gustó andar acá?
I don't know if you're speaking Spanish or English right now. Oh, hot!
Okay, so what you're looking at is video that's been circulating on social media. It's video of migrant workers that are being detained by ICE in Orleans County, New York, that were then later transported to a detention facility nearby. ICE reportedly stopped this bus from transporting workers from the vegetable farm that they work at. Now, advocacy groups are trying to put pressure on government officials, criticizing the way that they went about the raid.
We're here today because what's going on in this country is wrong. It is just flat out wrong. If there's no due process and there's no safety, then there's no safety for anybody. They ain't going to stop here.
The union says about 12 to 15 migrant workers have been detained. And when asked about their legal status, here's what the union had to say.
We don't interrogate workers about their status, so I can't speak to that. But regardless of their status, we don't believe they should have been targeted for this raid.
All of the fear mongering being done against, women and children and families and people that are picking our vegetables and making our farms run, they are not a threat to us.
Honestly, so sad to see their families being torn apart. They're putting them in these prison cells as if they're criminals when they're just here to support their families and provide so much to our society, our community.
Now, the union also says that they have been in contact with some of the migrant workers that have been detained and that they're working to get legal representation for them. In the meantime, we did reach out to ICE for details on this situation or some type of statement and haven't yet heard back.
What is going on with the farming industry in Texas? In the last 12 months, there's been 4 major incidences alone that have caused serious hardship for the farming industry in Texas. And I put together a little timeline so we can take a look at this. This time last year in April of 2023, over 18,000 cows were killed from a dairy farm explosion in Dimmitt, Texas. In January of this year, a large explosion with a significant fire erupted at Feathercrest Farm chicken plant in Bryan, Texas. Just a couple months ago, in February of 2024, Smokehouse Creek Fire, the largest wildfire to ever burn across Texas, spreading across nearly 1.1 million acres, destroyed tons of farming. And just last month, in March of 2024, the largest U.S. fresh egg producer halts production at Texas plant after the bird flu was found in chickens. About 1.6 million laying hens and 333,700 pullets were culled. This doesn't even mention some of the very weird incidences that have happened with cows and poultry in Texas going back to 2020. But as always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
So Trump said he wanted mass deportations until hotel owners and farmers complained. Suddenly, ICE raids got paused to certain locations, and they don't want you to notice. ICE agents received this email according to the New York Times. Effective today, please hold on all worksite enforcement investigations, operations on agriculture, including aquaculture and meat packaging plants, restaurants, and operating hotels. The email then explained that investigations involving trafficking, money laundering, drug smuggling into these industries are okay. But it said crucially that agents were not to make arrests of non-criminal collaterals, a reference to people who are undocumented but who are not known to have committed any crime. DHS confirmed the guidance, saying we will follow the president's direction and continue to work to get the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens off of America's streets. In fact, even Trump made this post on Truth Social saying our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good long-time workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. I'm curious how that's going to work with Stephen Miller's 3,000 arrests per day. So just remember, everybody, that it's always capital over people. It's always been capital over people.
I just wanted to jump on here real quick because I saw a video on Joy Reid's Instagram page showing where immigrants in this country are showing up for regularly scheduled appointments at immigration court. And right after they're done with the judge, when they get a stay to stay in this country, they get in a hallway and all of a sudden these masked ICE agents, these Nazi, Gestapo, new version of the KKK, are dragging these people into detention centers, deporting them. As soon as the judge gives them the okay, they get out in the hallway and all of a sudden they get snatched up and there's nothing the judges can do about it. If I was someone here and I had a scheduled appointment at immigration court, I wouldn't go because you know what? It's a setup. It's a setup. And even the judges can't protect you. This is Trump's America. And I will never, ever forgive the people that voted for this man. Ever.
In truth, they're not people to you anymore. They're the enemy within that has to be removed for the good of the state. The dehumanization has created the moral ambiguity under which the banality of evil proliferates. Your ideas are rooted in nationalism and a love for your country, and the idea that a certain group of people has created a situation that causes an alien foreign culture to propagate in your country that has to go away because otherwise your country will fail. Because they're not people to you anymore, the treatment of them can be substandard. They can be treated like animals. They can be treated however they need to be treated to make sure that the country is saved. And you're okay with that because in your mind, you wouldn't make the choice that they've made. And so it would never happen to you. These are the notes that I made while reading an article about Oscar Groening, the Auschwitz guard that was tried at age 94 for being an accessory to murder. Justifies his actions by saying that they were caused by the propaganda that was spoon-fed to him since he was a child, and that his lieutenant said to him that this was just something that they had to accept, to not even think about. Just something to think about.
For a second day in a row, agents are seen arresting migrants at immigration court.
And look at this scene on the northwest side. 3 people who appear to be part of a landscaping company. They were taken into custody in this parking lot of the shopping center. Tonight, KENS 5 reporter Megan Reina is following all these developments for us. Megan?
Well, Henry Easties, this is part of the Trump administration's push for mass deportations. We heard from 2 immigration attorneys who watched as their clients were taken into custody today after they showed up to their scheduled immigration hearings.
Crying out, "I don't want to die in Honduras," an emotional mother taken by ICE agents at immigration court Thursday. Another mother also placed in the same van. Her husband says she has no prior criminal history.
Mis hijas esperándolos en la casa. 6 niñas tengo que dependen de nosotros.
But like most arrested, she had just had her case dismissed by a judge.
We were requesting a merits hearing, and the judge declined to set a merits hearing because DHS asked for the case to be dismissed and the client to be ordered removed, saying that it was not in the government's interest to hear a full case.
These videos shared to us show agents in the lobby of the immigration court waiting for migrants, one agent even holding what appears to be a list with pictures. Shortly after, you see agents escort an entire family into a charter bus. ICE says these arrests are a part of the Trump administration's plans to reverse former President Biden's so-called catch and release program. They are now utilizing expedited removals. It allows them to fast-track deportations for people who have been in the country for less than 2 years. These arrests are evoking fear among people who have upcoming hearings. One attorney who's representing a man from Central Africa says the option for migrants to appear virtually for hearings appears to be gone. Her client also had his case dismissed.
I feel like we portraying people who's here with critical fears. Just knowing his story, I feel like I let him down.
But
I thought they said they were going after criminals. Those are babies. Those are children, mothers, landscapers. These immigrants are showing up to their immigration appointments trying to stay in this country the right way. And how do they get rewarded for being upstanding, doing things the right way? They get set up and they get deported. Of course, they lied when they said you get to stay if you do things the right way and you're not a criminal. These are innocent babies between the ages of 9 and 12 being zip-tied like criminals, while an actual criminal, 34-time felon rapist, leader of our country, is pardoning other criminals, the cop killing J6ers and Todd and Julie Chrisley. This is what a lot of you Mexicans and Latinos voted for. Not only are you failures, you are the biggest danger to yourselves, your own family, and your community. What an absolute disgrace you are, MAGA Latinos. They are rapidly deporting Black and brown people, many who are indigenous to this continent, while simultaneously importing white supremacists from South Africa, which is an entirely different continent for those who don't know.
Over 50% of people farming in the US right now are going to retire in the next 10 years. Of those people, they own over 50% of the farmland in this country, which means what is going to happen when they retire in the next 10 years? What is going to happen to this farmland? Who is going to take their place? The amount of people coming in to take farmers' place since the 1980s has dropped dramatically. I am by no means a commercial farmer over here trying to work hundreds of acres with a tractor, but I do have nearly 7 acres of land that I am trying to work by myself with a wheelbarrow and a pitchfork. Here's a look at what I got started doing this week. I used to think you needed dozens of acres to be a farmer or turn a profit or grow the food your family needs. I'm quickly learning you need less than an acre to do all of those things. I'm also not the first person to claim this. I've seen so many other farmers on here doing exactly that. If you're feeling the call to do anything like this in any way, I'm here to tell you it's not necessarily easy, but it is possible, and you only need a few acres. You only need 1 acre or a roof on a building. If you're wondering how to buy this acreage, I did it with a loan I got at Farm Credit East, not the USDA. Farm Credit is a nationwide network, and I got a loan for undeveloped farmland. There were no utilities at this land. I'm currently paying the loan back as we speak while I figure out what the heck I'm doing here.
Real quick, if you live in the Pacific Northwest, I was just on my way to Costco in Burlington, and I passed an ICE vehicle on State Route 20 going eastbound towards Mount Vernon and Burlington area. And it seemed to turn on like Higgins Airport Way. There's like a Port of Skagit, small little airport thing there. So be on the lookout. There was an ICE vehicle spotted in Washington State near Burlington and Mount Vernon. So be safe, stay vigilant. Yeah.
The Trump administration is giving ICE agents $42,000 bonuses this year after they've terrorized communities across the United States. The Trump administration thinks they've earned it. Now, in total, ICE will be spending about $900 million on all these bonuses. And just for reference here, the average bonus that the American worker gets is $2,500. But I guess ICE agents deserve $42,000. And this is coming right after Donald Trump's big push to cut government spending, to get rid of waste and fraud in the government. So if I'm hearing this correctly, they cut free lunches for kids. They took away affordable medicine from the elderly and people in need. But they're going to give $42,000 to each ICE agent for violently kidnapping and deporting people who have been in this country legally. This is absolutely sick.
The reason why this ICE situation hits home for me is because a lot of my friends are Hispanic. I'm from Houston, Texas. So you have no choice but to run into some Latin folks. Hell, my best friend is Honduran. And I've met so many amazing Latin people in my lifetime. So to see this ICE situation, it does affect me. I don't know everything about politics. I don't know everything about the laws. But seeing people ripped away from their families, seeing children ripped away from their families, man, something about that doesn't sit well with me. Besides, none of us own anything anyway. All this belongs to God. All the land, the earth, everything belongs to God. We don't own anything, right? So that's the way I see it. Again, I don't know everything, but shout out to the Latin folks. And that being
big changes under President Trump's new immigration policy. They don't know what the future workforce could look like in an industry that relies very heavily on this migrant labor. Nearly half of America's farm workers, half, are thought to be undocumented.
American farms are on the decline.
Okay, so I've seen a lot of the stories about American farms now struggling with their labor force because of the immigration situation. So let me just tell you something as the daughter of a former farmer. Let me just relate a little childhood story for you. So, my dad is the son of a farmer. My dad was a farmer up until sometime when I was in high school. I don't remember when he quit. Because being a farmer is an incredibly hard job, and it was taking a financial and psychological toll on my dad. So he eventually had to get out. But he was a farmer throughout my entire childhood and grew up doing that kind of work. And before I continue the story, I no longer speak to my parents, let's just say for political reasons. So when I was in, like, I want to say the fourth grade, a woman in this small town where I'm from got into some kind of dispute with my dad. I don't pretend to recall the context, but my dad farmed. He primarily grew things like jalapeno peppers. He was actually like a big supplier for Pace, like the picante sauce maker. Like, I remember as a kid driving at 4 o'clock in the morning with him to drop off peppers at the Pace in San Antonio, Texas. And throughout my entire childhood, up until my dad quit farming, he had a labor force of people who, some had green cards, but many of them were not legal. But the people that work for my dad, they would live in the United States part of the year, and then they would travel back to Mexico for part of the year, and they would send, a lot of their money back to Mexico. I knew this because, like, it was just widely discussed and known in my family. And the people that work for my dad, like, I knew them my entire childhood. Like, I remember his very right-hand man, migrant worker who was not legal, but he was like, I'm not gonna like exaggerate and say he was a part of our family, but like, I knew this man. He was regularly at our house. He would help my dad with things around the house, and my dad trusted him very much. And the people that work for my dad, as far as I could tell, were treated very well. Like, they were paid well. My dad provided housing for some of these people, provided vehicles for them. Like, again, I'm looking at this as a fourth grader, but like, through my eyes, it seemed like it was a decent working environment. So my dad, had undocumented people working for him. And this woman that he got into whatever the argument was, decided to call what at the time was known as INS. It's now ICE, I guess, but at the time it was Immigration and Naturalization Services. And they did a raid at my dad's farm, and many of his most dependable workers were deported back to Mexico. Now, I think things were a little simpler then. And, I know that people who are deported regularly come back because I see this in my work as a criminal defense attorney, but, they were all back in a couple of weeks. But my dad sure was pissed about this, because this caused a huge disruption in his, farming production capabilities. He lost people that he trusted, who worked for him for a long time, for weeks at a time, which, if you're a farmer, that's a very big deal. Farming is a very time-dependent industry. Like, crops are ready when they're ready, and if you miss the window, your crops die, which is bad. Like I said, my dad is no longer farming, but my parents, I didn't talk to them this past election, but they are very strong Trump supporters. And while I don't speak to them, I'd love to say, Dad, how do you feel about this? Remember that time that INS came to your farm and you sure were mad about it because you were in a dispute with some lady, kind of like how Trump wants to be in a dispute with like the rest of the world? How does that make you feel? And, I know a lot of us are watching the F around and find out nature of a lot of the things that Trump supporters thought they were going to get with him as president, which are obviously not going to work out in the favor of Americans. And it's just this like cut off your nose to spite your face mindset that blows my mind. But like, the fact that people in my family would support a man who is doing this while also knowing the extreme financial stress that this will place on American farmers and what it will do to costs, labor costs, costs for us as consumers tells me a lot about the level of thinking that goes into a vote for someone like this man.
Trump just paused all immigration raids on restaurants, farms, meatpacking plants, and hotels. Industries that are predominantly staffed by immigrants and undocumented immigrants. In fact, almost half the workers on U.S. farms are undocumented. What does this mean? You work on a farm, no raids. Maybe the harvest will actually be picked. If you work in a restaurant, no raids. At least you can work in peace. I even said this 6 months ago. Watch. United States farms contribute over $1 trillion to the U.S. economy. You want to know the fastest way to a recession? And everybody eating canned tuna and Chips Ahoy cookies? Deport all the undocumented immigrants. So this is no longer about enforcement. Trump's being a businessman. This is about the economy. Deport all workers for eating processed foods. But obviously this is all temporary until there's real immigration relief. Trump just paused all immigration raids on restaurants, farms, meatpacking plants.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.